All right, looks like we may have success. Give me a moment. What is this? I remove. Okay, we are live on YouTube. It looks like Facebook's having issues, Phyllis, so you may want to send a link.
We can go ahead and start our. You ready? Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
Well, welcome everyone. We're so excited to be here tonight via Zoom. We'll be dealing with, again, the kitchen cabinet, healing our community forum. This is a conversation place, which means I will need you to be engaged and to speak with us. Why? Because we have a lot to discuss. My name is Ira Thompson. I will be your moderator. We have some specific guests with us tonight that we'll talk about a little bit later, but we want to thank the Albany Police Chief Michael Pursley for allowing us to do this. because without him, none of this would be possible. Our guests, as we look at the list, and we have such a distinguished list, we have with us Shannon Rogers, we have Alicia Brown, Amy Bierman, and Andrea Krominga. I hope I got that right, Andrea. Now, before we start, let me just tell you a little bit about this panel. Shannon is the director of the development and communications of the ARC of Southwest Georgia. She does a lot, manages funds development, organizational, community and advocacy communications. That's a lot within itself for the organization. And she served for what, over 20 years in doing this. And she's in a management position of operations and the clients where she gained an insight of demonstrating what integrity and high personal standards of respect for others and the importance of communication. The kicker is she lives in our community since 2010 and believes her biggest accomplishment is being the mom of the best kids ever. We'll be talking about that as we move on. Our next client will be who? Miss Alicia Brown. Did I say Talisha? Did I say that right? Wonderful. She serves as a substance abuse coordinator for the Aspire Behavioral Health. Born and raised in Ohio, OH and a dime, but the cold weather ran her off after high school and she applied for college. Where? In the great state of Georgia. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Albany State, a master's from Columbia State University in clinical mental health counseling. She is a licensed professional counselor, as well as a certified anger management specialist, master addiction counselor, and a medication-assisted recovery specialist. She has a lot of titles. She should have all these changed down to give her a hand, I tell you. But her fun fact is she's recipient of the 2021 National Health Services Loan Repayment Program. It supports the recruitment and retention of health professionals and underserved areas. In exchange for an additional 3 years of employment, Aspire. I tell you, she's been busy, busy, busy. I know Amy. Amy Bierman is the Salvation Army, Albany Core Service Manager, the Social Services Manager overseeing the Emergency Homeless Shelter, case management for the shelter clients. She says a place for hope, day center, and a financial emergency service. She's busy herself. Glad you're here, Amy. And hopefully we'll get Captain James Sullivan. I'll talk to you once he comes on, a little bit about him. We have also with us Andrea Krominga. She resides in Albany, Georgia, where she serves as the Youth and Young Adult Coordinator for Aspire Behavioral Health. Again, she obtains a master's degree from Thomas University in clinical mental health and clinical rehabilitation counseling. She is a licensed associate professional counselor. Her first job was in the field of case management in a 4 years in treatment court under the Honorable Judge Goss and the Albany Advocacy Resource Center. She went on to serve in the Social Services Consultant Department of Family and Child Services, implementing continuous quality improvement and assisting in restoring Georgia state of hope. What else we want to know about her? We'll talk to you as we go through this. We're going to have some fun here tonight because our theme for this is, what do you think it might be? Anybody has any idea? Understanding the community resources. You heard of all the qualifications that all of our panelists have, and we'll get into what it is that they bring to the table and their viewpoint. We'll talk a little bit about Chief personally later and bring him into the game as we do this. But we want to welcome you to this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful event. How this will work, I will ask you questions. You've been given a script. However, I won't stay with the script. I will ask you a question, not to catch you off guard, but we need to be able to laugh more. You need to smile. You're on candid camera. So what we want to do is, as we'll start this off, we'll kick this off with Alicia Brown. What are you seeing as challenges in the community and what can be done to address them from your perspective?
Hello, thanks for having me. Some of the challenges that I see in the community are homelessness, poverty, unemployment, and really a lack of knowledge to resources. Within our organization and our society as a whole, what we could do is link individuals to available resources and address any underlying issues that may be impacting their ability to conquer some of these issues. Like one of the programs that I am excited about, and I'm sure Chief Pursley could tell me more about this, but it's the Albany Police Department Co-Responder Program. To my knowledge, it's a partnership between the Albany Police Department and Aspire. And this pilot program, it would help law enforcement officers in Albany to respond more effectively to people having mental health issues. And what the co-responder program does is it has a clinician from Aspire respond with the mental health substance abuse calls with the police officer. So I'm kind of excited to see how this helps.
Well, thank you so much for that. And we'll appreciate your excitement as you do this. I will ask Andrea Kuminga, I will ask you the same thing, Andrea, because again, based on looking at your bio, you are an advocacy at the Resource Center. I want to ask you that same question. What are you seeing as challenges in the community, and what can be done to address them from your perspective?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me, first of all. So with my current position, over the last year, I've been working with the youth and young adult population in Albany, Georgia. And so, and I'm also at Aspire with Alicia. That's my wonderful coworker. So currently in our youth, I'm seeing an increase in depression and anxiety that I believe is largely related to the pandemic that we've been going through for the last year and a half. So there's some different parts to that. So I think a lot of our youth have experienced loss of a loved one, and they've been going through grief. They've also experienced a lack of a routine and a sense of normalcy. Just as adults, thrive in routine, so do our children. And so I think this is causing an increase in depression and anxiety among them as well. And then also they're prone to being also like, for example, when they go to school and then they're sent home to quarantine for 2 weeks, I've seen a difficulty with their academics as well. In terms of the community in general, I think that a lot of our youth are experiencing issues with trauma. There's an increase in violence in our community, extreme poverty, maybe abuse in the household, abuse from a parent, sexual abuse. And so I think to address these concerns, first you have to validate them and acknowledge that they're there, that they even exist. Secondarily, I think that early intervention is key, and reducing the stigma around mental health. The sooner you can get intervention and treatment in place, the better outcomes you see with treatment. So I think that's the key to change. I think too, just in general, I work with the youth. I think they're our next generation. They're the key to changing our community. So if we focus on our youth and pour all of our great resources into them, that will really turn our community around.
Well, thank you so much for that, and we'll appreciate that. And that segues us into the next question, and that will be going to Amy Bierman. The question for you is, it goes without saying where you're working right now, it goes without saying that 2020 was a year that we won't forget. How did the challenges in 2020 affect your organization operations, and what did you do to deal with these changes?
That is an excellent question. So first of all, thank you for having me as kind of a last minute guest on the panel. But I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be able to, talk about the Salvation Army and everything that's happening in our community. So yes, 2020 was definitely a year that none of us will forget, but how that impacted the Salvation Army, I think the largest impact would probably be our family store closing right after COVID hit in March of 2020. So most people, when they think of the Salvation Army, they think thrift store, family store. There's a lot of people that don't know about the services that we provide, which includes the emergency homeless shelter, the day center, community meals, emergency financial services. So those services have been impacted as well. And the way that they've been impacted is we've seen an increase in need. Our shelter has increased as far as the number of people that we have coming in, the number that we have coming into the day center. And the day center is for people who are staying in the emergency homeless shelter, but it's also for those that are staying on the street as well. And then our financial emergency assistance has had a tremendous increase, especially with utility assistance. I'm the only person to do those calls on Friday mornings, and it is extremely busy. So some of the ways that we are dealing with those increases and changes is one, with the thrift store being closed, we used to do clothing vouchers that came right out of our thrift store for people needing clothing. Now we connect them with resources in the community for clothing. And there are quite a few agencies that help with that type of thing. So we're able to connect them in that way. But as far as the increase that we're seeing in the need for services, we have reached out to the community and we've asked for donations as far as food, canned goods go, even non-perishable items, because we're seeing an increase in the amount of our community meals is 2 hot meals per day. So we're seeing an increase of people coming for those meals. As far as dinner goes, I'm usually here around dinner time and our parking lot's full. Sometimes we serve 50, but it could be up to 100 people in the evening for dinner at 6 o'clock. And then, you know, for the shelter, it's just a matter of making sure that all hands are on deck, so to speak, you know, that we're as fully staffed as we can possibly be so that we're here to serve people when they walk through the door needing shelter.
Okay, well, again, thank you so much for that detail. And we shall now move over to Shannon, because I want to ask Shannon that same question, because all the work that you do, how did the challenges of 2020 affect your organization operation? And what did you do to deal with those changes yourself? Shannon, you're on mute.
First, thank you for having me tonight. It is a pleasure to be part of this. Second, Amy, you and I need to get together with the whole clothing thing, because I picked up 6 bags today of clothing and shoes. Because you know I'm always delivering something to somebody, whether it's food or clothing or what have you. So I will hit you up tomorrow. You know, 2020, of course, brought a ton of challenges. Just dealing with the everyday face-to-face with the services we provide to our individuals, you know, considering we do provide services to a vulnerable population. 2021 is presenting the exact same challenges, and we adapt every day. We are creative, you know, now that the mask mandate's back in place because COVID cases are going up. It's like a nightmare that we can't wake up from. And, you know, the population we serve, it breaks my heart when I walk into our adult day service center and I have Angela, who her communication, she's nonverbal Down syndrome, and her communication is touch, and she wants to touch my forehead and she wants me to pat her back, and I can't do that. You know, so just it's more than just adjusting services or how we deliver our services. It's also adjusting how we communicate, but yet let them know we still love them and we're still advocating for them and we're still fighting for them. And that's not going to change.
Okay, well, again, thank you so much for that. 2020 has been a year, and we're now in 2021. And I say that because over the past several years, attention has been given more to mental health, homelessness, poverty, and other social issues that affect every American household. What do you say to that the stigma that is maybe placed on those who experience in these situations. And we'll go right into Andrea. Andrea, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm trying to get off mute. I'm sorry. I would say that, first of all these social issues are, and addressing them and acknowledging them are vital to the success of our community. So if a child has trauma they're experiencing, it can make it seemingly impossible to focus at school. This in turn, can hurt them and prevent them from becoming a contributing member to society. So if you think about mental health as equally as important as your physical health, I think that's where we can really see a turn in some of these issues. Even with our mental health, if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're stressed out, if we've got high blood pressure, all those contribute, all those are linked together. So, and I think also, with the pandemic, as you just mentioned, in 2021 and 2020, we're in our second year of this, everyone's stressed out, everyone's tired. And we've truly seen how vital and important our mental health is. So I really think, of course, I'm kind of biased because I am a licensed therapist. I think mental health is the key to a lot of the answers in our community. If we can change the way that we think and the way that we perceive things, it changes our feelings about it and our behavior, and all those are linked together. So I think also, in terms of connection, we've seen how important connection is. It's just as vital as our basic needs: food, water, and shelter. I don't know about you guys, but when I was, at home for the first time and we were quarantined, I was literally like the walls were closing in on me. So in terms of the community, if we can be more connected and really focus on mental health, I think that can be, a very big avenue for change.
Well, great. We thank you so much for that. You heard the word, Alicia, change. What do you say to the stigma that has been placed on those who experience in those situations that's dealing with mental health issues and other social issues, especially talk a little bit about poverty? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that stigma is a barrier in our society. It has a significant impact on many different things. It impacts how we feel about ourselves and how we think others see us. It also impacts our acceptance of ourselves and getting the help that we need to be successful in life. There's especially a big stigma associated with mental health in the Black and Brown community. We're hesitant to seek addiction and mental health care, not just because of the distrust of the medical establishment, but it's also seen as a sign of weakness. We talk about everything else except for the scars that we can't see. So before I get off my soapbox, I just want to say that this stigma, comes along with mental health and addiction. It's really just a lack of knowledge. This really needs to be highlighted more in order for us to develop a greater understanding of this negative impact.
Well, thank you so much for that. And that you must be psychic as you talk about this, because that will segue us right into this next question. What led you to serve in the field that you're currently in? And what advice or guidance would you give someone who wants to enter into your field, Shannon?
You can't call me out last because that makes me like all running for my unmute button. I'm going to be very blunt, and Chief Pursley is going to forgive me for this because I am a very blunt person. But first and foremost, I am a child of God. And the gift that God gave me of service and advocating, because everybody, like my nickname as a child was Jabberjaws. So everybody knows I can talk it. If I am put in the right place, I'm going to talk. And that's what led me here. I've had many jobs leading up to this, but when I walk into one of our facilities and people's faces light up, and they may not remember the last 16 years of their lives, but they remember my name. That's what makes me get up every morning and keep going, and trying to make this community see the people, not the disability first. So, and my advice my advice would be number one, check your heart, like check your gifts that God gave you, because we all have those special gifts. And whether it's through what I do of advocating or community relations or grant writing, it can be, oh my gosh, it can be utilized in so many different ways of helping mental health, of helping poverty, of helping homelessness. You know, one of my best friends works at a veterans homeless nonprofit in Augusta, and her gift is what led her there, and she didn't realize she had it. So that's my advice.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And you did a great job. Even though you pressed that button and you were looking for, we're going to switch over to Amy, because Amy, we want to give you this question. Funding is always a source of concern for profit, nonprofit, and government entities. Knowing that your funding sources can be private and public, how can members of the community provide support to your organization?
Excellent question. With Salvation Army, we do receive some funding, but the majority of what we do comes from donations. So that is an awesome question for us. We accept monetary donations, non-perishable food items, and also volunteers that want to come in and help out with the services that we provide. There's a variety of things that volunteers can do. Again, now that the store is closed, we don't accept furniture or clothing, items of that nature, but we are still, providing those other services that I talked about earlier with the homeless shelter and the emergency financial services, along with our day center. So there's a lot of opportunities to still donate and to volunteer if people would like to do that.
Excellent. Excellent. I shall push that question over to Andrea, because you're with Aspire, and I know Aspire does a lot in the community.
Sure.
How can members of the community provide support to your organization needs?
Okay. So first and foremost, I think you can just go to our Facebook page and like it and view our updates, because at Youth and Young Adults, we're always having different activities and fundraisers. So just going to that Facebook page and kind of being, cognizant of what we're doing in the community. And like I said, we recently had a virtual 5K run. At Youth and Young Adults, we have all kind of fun activities and things of that nature. So also, if you are a stakeholder in the community, you can partner with us. I know recently, we've partnered with the fire department, and we provide trainings like with the police department. So just, trying to collaborate with our stakeholders and partnering with us can assist. And two, to always keep in the forefront how important it is for the funding that we have. I know, just the community and lawmakers, people that are, the local commissioners, if we can always communicate how important mental health is for our youth and young adults and our adult side with Alicia, that can assist us in keeping the focus and the funds sustainable over time.
Again, thank you so much for that. I know we've been talking about, and they say this is a heavy load. When you're dealing with social issues, when you're dealing with the community, you're dealing with a lot of things. Sometimes they can weigh on you. Sometimes you can go home and say, what did I do today? Did I get, as my favorite word is to everyone, the ROI, the return on investment? What did you get out of that? So the question I will now pose to you, and we'll start with Alicia. What has been one of the proudest moments that you've had while working in your field?
I can't really rank one proud moment over another, but I do enjoy it. Well, I enjoy it when I get a letter or a phone call from a previous client telling me how well they're doing.
Okay. I shall now move that over to Amy. What has been one of the proudest moments that you've had while working in your field?
Well, we have a lot of proud moments here at the Salvation Army, because it's just, helping people is what we do. But for me, when I see someone who's been in the homeless shelter for a period of time, they come in and They have little to nothing, and over that time, they work on their individual service plan that we do. They put one foot in front of the other, so to speak, to reach their goals, and they obtain housing and or employment, whatever those goals look like. And they're able to reach sustainability and maintain that sustainability. It's awesome to see that take place and for that to happen. So that's always a proud moment.
Well, thank you. Shannon, I gave you time to get that mic this time.
I'm on.
What has been one of the proudest moments you've had while working in your field?
I will tell you, it was probably the day that I became a community resource. That I'd finally connected after living here since 2010. I had connected with the right people, and I became someone that they would just call me. And they would call me, and I've delivered a lot of bills to the Salvation Army. And I'm still going to hit you up about the clothes. I've been a part of a ton of food drives. It's just like when someone sees a need, or they have a partner or community business that says, okay, I have this, and it may not necessarily be for the ARC. It could be for Aspire. It could be for Salvation Army. Farmer Frito called me a few weeks ago, and then I'm calling Rebecca, and I'm like, I have 40 bags of fresh vegetables. Can you guys use them tonight for the food pantry? So being able to spread the love, becoming that resource and spread the love through the community, because it's, to me, yeah, we all do similar things. And a lot of people would say, well, y'all kind of compete. No, we don't. When we bring all together what we do, we're that much stronger in our community. So being able to do that is huge for me.
Okay. Andrea, what has been one of your proudest moments?
I was hoping you wouldn't pass me up on this one. So honestly, that question was very difficult for me. I was thinking about it all day, but now that we're in this setting, and it gives me chills thinking about it. So what was that? Not last weekend, the weekend prior, me and all of our clubhouse children and staff attended a car wash at Garrick's Automotive. And that was in honor of one of our sweet clubhouse babies, Mr. Nigel Brown. And we raised a little over $20,000 for him. So while that was a horrible, senseless tragedy, and like you mentioned, Mr. Thompson, it's very taxing some days. That whole entire week that incident, that horrible tragedy happened, everyone, all the staff, a lot of the youth that attend Clubhouse or attended Clubhouse with Nigel were very sad and sorrowful. But the silver lining in that situation was I met so many awesome people from the community at that event. And it was just a last minute thing. We saw it on the news and we called Garrick's and we're like, hey, can we come help wash cars? We want to help. And so we had all of our youth out there washing cars, and to see, holding the signs up and all of the traffic that was just honking and donating, and we were packed for hours. So that was honestly, even though it was just a couple weeks ago, the absolute proudest moment I've had in my career.
Well, it is so wonderful that you say that, because this brings up our final question that I'll be posing to each of you. We've talked a lot about how smart you are, educationally, counselors, therapists, all the work that you do, the companies, organizations that you're with. But now, because our theme is understanding community resources, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to tell me what resources, again, is return on investment. What are you giving me? I'm in the community, and in the community, we want something. So as part of understanding the community resources, I'll start with you, Amy. What resources are you have available for your organization to the community?
Okay, the resources available here at the Salvation Army are, I'll start with the emergency financial assistance. So we do have a food pantry, which is stocked with non-perishable food items. Due to COVID at the moment, we are doing applications by phone for food assistance. So the only thing that needs to be done is a phone call. We do the application and then we schedule a time for that person to come and pick up the food that they're in need of. However, if someone does come by the office and they knock on the door and they say, I need food, we're going to serve that person at the door as well. But we are trying to follow COVID protocols by doing as much as we can by phone for emergency financial assistance. The other piece to that emergency financial assistance is utility assistance. We do those pre-screens by phone every Friday between 9 and 12. Once we do the pre-screen, then we schedule the appointments for the documentation and application to be completed. Our day center, which is a place for hope, that is for people staying in the shelter and also for people on the streets. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to noon. Phones can be used, computers can be used for things like housing searches, employment searches, things of that nature. Laundry can be done at a place for hope, and then also some coffee and snacks are served during that time as well. The emergency homeless shelter is open 7 days a week. We open the doors at 7:30 p.m. We do stop check-in at 8:30 p.m. That means everyone has to be in the door no later than 8:30 for security purposes. The only thing that's required is a photo ID, and the only thing that would prohibit someone from coming in is a convicted sex offense. Our next is going to be our community meals. We serve breakfast Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. and that's open to the community. Anyone and everyone can come for breakfast, and that's a hot meal. Dinner is served Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. That's also a hot meal and open to the community.
Well, thank you so much. That was a lot of resources. Andrea, what community resources are you or your organization bringing?
Okay, so Aspire Youth and Young Adults, we primarily serve, as I mentioned, our child and adolescent population, but we also serve the families as a whole. So we've got 5 specialty programs, and I could literally take up 30 minutes on all the services that we offer. We are so blessed at Youth and Young Adults. Our programs are very enriched with resources, and so just in general, I'll just give a quick elevator speech. So our APEX program, we are in 25 schools in 8 different counties. We service, that's basically our program in which our therapists are housed in the local schools. And we provide those, any mental health services that a youth needs in the school setting. So the primary goal of that is to, ease access to care. So when you're pulling a youth from class, it cuts down on, having them transported to an appointment and missing out on their academic time. We also serve schools through trainings. We train teachers on mental health issues and self-care and all that great stuff. And then secondly, we've got our Clubhouse program. That's our after-school enrichment program. So that program, we actually pick the children up, the youth up from our local schools. They eat a snack and do their homework. We provide tutoring, independent living skills, social skills. We focus on the whole child, well-being in Clubhouse. They do field trips. Our Clubhouse program is absolutely amazing, working on social skills. And then also the older or the more advanced a youth gets in that program and progresses, they give back by mentoring, and we do peer leadership. So then also we've got our Evolve program. That's for your first episode of psychosis. For, as you guys probably know, oftentimes that psychosis can set in around 16 to 18, and families are like, they need that extra support of what do I do and where do I turn? So we work with that population as well. And then lastly, our other specialty program is Emerge, and that's for your emerging adults. So that's where we really kind of connect and partner with our youth, and it's from ages like 18 to 25, when you're trying to learn how to be independent and you think you're grown, but you're not all the way grown. You think you know more than you really know. And then we've got our System of Care and AIM specialty program, that's more focused on your community trainings, like I mentioned earlier. So to really partner with our stakeholders and train where necessary. It could be in the schools, it could be with the police department. It's a wide array of different community trainings. So any behavioral health, mental health services for youth and young adults, we pretty much cover at Aspire. And lastly, the most important thing, it's covered regardless of a family's ability to pay. So we are truly community mental health.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Shannon,
Look at
you
that.
better,
Quick on the draw.
you on the hand this time.
Quick on the draw. First, there are so many services and so many acronyms in all of our organizations, and a lot of it is hard to explain. But I'm gonna first start with, a lot of nonprofits are funded, whether it's state or federal, through reimbursement for their essential services, and a lot of that is through Medicaid waivers. A lot of people don't realize whether it's mental health, it's a physical disability, but there are 2.1 million Georgians with disabilities right now. There's over 7,300 on a waiting list for a Medicaid waiver, which gives them the funding for the programs and the services they need, the home and community-based services, the independent living, the child development services, to prepare them for entering into a normal school environment, which is something we also offer. And right now, our state, 10 years ago, 1,500 waivers a year. Right now, we're at 150 a year. Do you think the demand's dropping? No. And I know Aspire and Salvation Army, I know everybody else feels this. So when we talk about the services we provide, the home and community-based, independent living, the vocational rehabilitation services, which is to train and prepare our individuals for meaningful employment, and all of that at the end of the day is to make them inclusive members of our community, because it's a right, it's not a privilege. I'm not going to give you all the acronyms.
Okay. Well, Talisha, I know you thought I forgot about you, and you were sitting there so patiently. I wanted to give you as we say, the last shout out before we turn this over to Chief Person. We wanted to make sure that you were aware. Oh, I see a new face. That's got to be Captain Sullivan, but we'll go ahead, Talisha, and let you give us your resources, and then we'll move briefly over to Captain Sullivan. Talisha.
All right, so at Aspire, we are a public nonprofit community service board, and we provide behavioral health, substance use, and developmental disability services to individuals who are uninsured or underinsured. So like Andrea said, those individuals who really have no means to pay. And the best part about Aspire is that we offer a variety of services. We've got our basic medication management services for our outpatient adults, which would include seeing a medical provider, a therapist, a nurse, and maybe a case manager to help with community resources or supported employment. We've got a medication assistant treatment program. Our MAT program, it's used to treat opioid addiction. Our 24 hours a day, 7 days a week crisis stabilization unit. We've got Touchstone, which is our residential substance abuse program. We have a peer support day services for individuals with developmental disabilities. And we've got the Change Center. It's our addiction recovery support center. They provide a recovery-focused, peer-led activities to really engage and educate individuals and their families.
Well, thank you so much for that. And again, we appreciate all that you're doing. And we have a new face that just showed up out of nowhere. But as important as it is, Captain James Sullivan's married to the Captain Rebecca Sullivan. I know Rebecca. They began their seminary studies at Evelyn Booth College Seminary in Atlanta. He'll fix that name for me. Commissioned for service to the Atlanta Peace Crest Corps Boys and Girls Club. James and Rebecca moved to Albany in 2017 by the way of Atlanta, and they started a new program at the Albany Corps and have fallen in love with people and love shops and restaurants here in Albany. He also is a teacher at the Albany Tech. But mostly, Captain Sullivan, one, we want to welcome you. You had a great stand-in with Amy. She did a great job of filling in. But what we want to know for you is, based on all that you know, as busy as you are, what advice or guidance would you give someone who wants to enter into the field that you're in right now?
The advice that I would give, the reason I got involved with the Salvation Army, because I'm a recovering addict, but I like to keep my past in the past. You know, I've been clean for 15 years. I went through a Salvation Army program, the ARC Adult Rehabilitation Center. It was a 10-month program. And that's what I would say. Don't focus on your past. You know, focus on your future. Don't let your past dictate where you're headed. That's the advice that I would give anyone. It's too many times we worry about our past. We let our past hold us back. You know, because we worry about what people think. All of us have a past, you know, and that's what the advice that I would give anyone. Don't let your past dictate, you know, your dreams or what you want to do. So for me, because Salvation Army invested so much in me and was able to help me with my addiction, I wanted to make a difference. You know, I got involved with AA, NA, Narcotic Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. I became a facilitator for Celebrate Recovery. You know, on that bio you just read, I'm not a teacher at Albany Tech. I'm a student at Albany Tech, an older student, and I'm taking up addiction counseling. You know, because within the next 10 to 12 years, me and my wife, we're getting ready to hang it up here. But I want to take the ministry, the work, continually on the outside. I don't just want to just sit around. I'm planning for my future still, even after I retire.
Okay. Well, see, I future cast you into being a teacher since you're already there. Once you set your feet in the door, you'll automatically stay there. All right, we've came to the last of the hour, and what I will do is it's called the round robin. I will go around the room right now, and I will give you 1 minute to say anything that hasn't been said and that you love the community to know about before I turn this over to Chief Persley. Starting with you, Andrea. Is there anything that hadn't been said you want the community to know?
I knew you were going to call on me first when I was trying to think of my answer. Just to piggyback on what the last gentleman was saying in terms of, you know, everybody has a past. I think everybody needs to know their why. Why are you doing what you're doing every day? You know, I see so many people in the community that just appear to be lost. They're just going along with day-to-day functions. So I think, and especially like you mentioned, Mr. Thompson, in terms of people coming into our field, is know your why and really never stop continuing to learn, because there's so many things that we don't know. Education is truly key to being successful. And nowadays with the internet and with all this technology, you know, you can just about look up anything you need to know, but always know your why and your purpose in life. And then I guess, like you mentioned, something that hasn't been said, I know it's been mentioned, but I think that as a community, we are on the right track, especially in terms of locally in Albany, Georgia, Leesburg area, all of our little, you know, our rural surrounding, you know, Southwest Georgia. I think we are on track in terms of coming together. At times it can be so weary and it seems like we're not getting anywhere, but we're in it every day. So sometimes you have to step back and really note change that has happened and progress we've made. And I think that's important to celebrate as well. So I think community is key and we are on the right path.
Okay. Talisha, your final words.
Well, I would like the community to know that we have 2 upcoming events. On August 28th, we have an overdose awareness event at the Veterans Park Amphitheater. It's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be speakers and a candlelight visual to honor and remember those who've lost their fight in addiction. And also September is Recovery Month. We have our Recovery in the Streets on September 18th. And we've got speakers there too and vendors. So come out and celebrate with us. Also, don't forget to visit our Aspire Facebook page, click like, and our Aspire website. It is Aspire, BHDD, that's B as in boy, H as in help me, D as in dog, and D as in donut.org. So come see us.
I know you didn't throw the donuts in because we got Chief Person on here. I know that's why you used that for last. I'll just throw it out there. We'll move now to Shannon.
Quick, I need to become a police officer. Boom, quick. Pick on the draw. I think the biggest thing, I'm going to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Andrea said, is just about being a community. At the end of the day, and I said this before, we're not fighting against each other. We all have wonderful resources, and coming together makes them that much stronger. I still see one of the biggest fights for inclusion in our community, and I challenge business owners and our leaders, our community leaders, to educate themselves and understand. I know that if in my position, it's different because I work with our individuals every day, but I know that, when I meet new people or I'm talking to them, if they haven't cared for or lived with someone with a disability, or been blessed with having a sibling or another family member with a disability, they don't understand it. Community leaders and businesses need to listen to those individuals. They have voices. They need to listen to it. And then they need to realize the impact of their decisions, what that impact will have on mental health, poverty, homelessness, physical and developmental disabilities. So I think it starts with the community leaders and our business partners to get inclusion right in this community.
Okay. Now, Captain Sullivan, I see Amy Beard. I don't know if Amy is still there, but would you or her like to give the final words on anything you'd like to know, the community know?
I want the community to know that we're all in this together, as a community, and we can overcome anything as a community. But I also want to make aware, every month, we love to go out and feed. If you're having an event, give us a call ahead of time, 2 weeks out, and we'll be glad to provide the meals. You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of the meals. Everything else is on you. We'll take care of the trays, the drinks, everything, because we want to be a part of everything that goes on in the community. We want people to know that we are here. Salvation Army, that's what we're our community. And we're here to support you in any way possible. But don't wait till the last minute now and say we're having this. Give us about 2 weeks out, and everything is free. It won't cost you anything.
Well, Captain Sullivan, we're not going to give you 2 weeks, but thank you for giving us that update to say that. But we'll go ahead and let you know up front. We're not giving you 2 weeks. We might give you 2 days, but I know either whatever we give you, you're going to serve us and you're going to serve us well. And with that segue, I will turn this over to the Albany Police Chief, Michael Persley, because he is the sponsor and overall arch of this kitchen cabinet, a place where we're talking. And I will now turn it over to him. Chief Persley.
Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Captain Sullivan, Ms. Bierman, Ms. Krominga, Ms. Brown, Ms. Rogers. Listen, you guys have definitely highlighted a lot. The one thing I want to bring up is when we talk about community policing, it's not about this. It's not about this. Community policing is where it's the community as a whole taking care of folks. If nobody gets anything from what has been said tonight, that there are avenues that all of your organizations touch some family, touch somebody. So I want them to understand that there is hope and there is help here in the community. We just have to make sure that they're connected. I am very proud of what you do in serving this community. And as long as I'm here as the chief, I will do everything to continue to help you in your efforts as you've helped us along the way. I will end by this. I want to highlight the co-responder program that Ms. Brown brought up. And the whole purpose of the co-responder is we fully understand that the issues with mental health in our community. And I would always talk to our crisis intervention training classes that when I started, a person who was having a mental health episode on a Friday night at 9 o'clock in the middle of Oglethorpe and Jefferson, that was the way we handled it. It wasn't the right way then, and it definitely wouldn't be the right way now. So under a co-responder program, you have an officer and a clinician that can go out and make contacts. And can we get that person before they have an episode? They didn't see the doctor, or family members said they're not quite acting right. Can we catch them beforehand? If we can catch them beforehand, then that's potentially a situation that doesn't get bad and the person gets the help they need. So that's what, when I talk about community policing, that's community policing where everyone comes in. But thank you all for taking out your time, especially you, Captain Sullivan. I know you pulling double duties, but God bless you all. God bless you in everything that you do. So turn it back over to you, Ira.
Well, thank you so much for that. One of the things that, Chief does a lot of great things, but I'm gonna help him out right here. He didn't mention Phyllis for all the technical expertise that she has did to put this together. It's all those people in that background that you always got to remember, because should she pull one wire tonight, as she will do in the next 1 minute, everything was shut down. And we'll be talking to ourselves. So we want to thank all of those that are involved in putting this together via Zoom. Normally we meet in person, but again, because of this spike in the pandemic, I should say, we're still given this opportunity to meet via Zoom. Reach out to the community as you always do and let them know that this is available. I hope that this will be placed somewhere so they can go back and recap on this moment, because this is a moment in time. When you get these many people together with this much knowledge, you want to ensure that everyone knows what resources our community have. They don't do any good to sit on the shelf. And so we want to push them out, as she personally has said, not only to the people that are listening to my voice, but those that didn't hear the voice. And we want to thank each and every one of them, and a shout out to the other chief personally, because the other chief personally keeps this chief personally on the camera as he is. And as you can see, he has a smile on his face, and that is a good sign being the chief of police. With that being said, we're at the 7 o'clock hour, and this ends our program for tonight. Looking forward to seeing you in the community. And remember, the kitchen cabinet is a place where conversations start